All right. Hello, hello. This will be my first VOD review, so please give me some feedback, what you liked, didn't like, etc. Um, First of all, I want to say that if I critiqued anything, it's not an attack against you. Um, I'll even critique my own replay later here. Everything's time stamped, and let's begin. There is no audio, so I don't really play without audio. So first, Meteor Golem spam. I kind of watched the replay. Your idea is fireball onto here, um, or here, I think. Remove this area and enter here. The king going around, and your RC going here to the base. Or at least that's the ideal plan, and you'll see that in my attack later. But um, the main difference, Kaku, that you need to work on is you're using your overgrowths wrong. Your overgrowths are bad because you're overgrowthing here. And what that does is that I kind of see what you're trying to do. You're trying to force your troops to go in, but when this uh when the overgrowth like runs off, we have the overgrowth and your troops are kind of here, and you've cleared out, let's say, this part of the base already. What happens is that when this part runs off, your troops, they start splitting. They start going, some troops go here, some troops go here, some troops go here. That's really bad because you want all your troops together because the healers, healers are stupid. They go into random areas and maybe they'll heal some random stuff. They do, in fact. But let's just watch the replay. Find fireball. I do want to add one last thing. I'll cover this in my Meteor Fireball guide, but Fireball plus Earthquake doesn't clear out um, storages. Just try and keep that in mind because if you were to spam all your troops here right now, I guess they wouldn't split, but that is something to keep in mind. Just look out for storages because you do kind of have a break in the base, but not a full break. So immediately I would notice the queen and this thing ricocheted and place a totem here to protect your queen, but just something you should be looking at. Now here's another mistake. You place your king, but then you place this meteor golem to funnel it. And what you're doing is you're making your king go into the base. You do not want your king going into the base. King's job is to funnel all the buildings to the outside. The reason being is because your queen and meteor golems, they target all troops. So if you don't remove these outside buildings, which you'll see later in the replay, your troops, after they're in the core, they'll go around the base. So this meteor golem is a huge mistake. It needs to be meteor golem, and then king. And make sure if like these buildings are equal, make sure you're not placing it like here because then it would go here, here, and into the base. You need to be very precise where your king placement is. It needs to go here, then outside of the base. So Warden dies. Um, let's actually quickly rewatch that. A little unlucky, but realistically, you should be placing a totem. Also, I'm not really the biggest fan of this log launcher because let's look at the compartments that it opens. Let's say you perfectly funneled it and then your queen actually went in here, right? This is opening this compartment, which means like your queen will probably might go to the left side. You don't really want that. You would want to like open uh place your log launcher like here so that your queen is forced into the core of the base here. And again, what I talked about, this overgrowth here, you're trying to force your troops going in, but when the overgrowth expires, your troops are gonna head into multiple directions. I'll talk about this in my attack, but what you needed to be doing is when your king goes into the base, now your RC is the one that's funneling it, and then you use like a few super barbs to clear out this, plus a wizard to clear out these outside buildings. So instead of like your RC going here and your king going here, now they're swapped. Now it's your king and your RC that's funneling the outside. Also not a fan of that rage. And look. Or what is this? Yeah, your queen. Let's just watch. Again, because like your troops are splitting, like the healers are on random things. Like want everything together because your healers less likely to go off heal random things. Also, look at like how much damage that's on your troops. You have this, 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 you have this. That is so much damage. And even still, like with this frostbite, your troops probably could like power through it, but not when this overgrowth unlocks at like the worst possible timing. It's like look at how messy this is. You have some stuff over here, have RC over here, have some troops here, you have your random healers here. Your troops are all over the place. They are not together at all. And now this is pretty much a wash. So you really need to not be doing these overgrowths here. You really need to be making sure that your king goes around the outside. Okay, second attack. Um, Here's how I would break down this base if I'm looking at it for the first time. I'm looking at the this revenge tower in the middle. This is a bit scary. I'm also looking at an isolated guardian guy by himself, kind of near it. I'm noticing there's like very little fireball at the top. And I'm also noticing these multi inferno and inferno towers. These mini two sections here are kind of isolated. And I'm noticing how if my meter golems would go here, they would kind of like split, go into random things. I'm also noticing the fire spitters are both pointed in these two directions. So my natural instinct is to just fireball like here, entry into here, king all the way on the outside, then RC goes here, and then My meteor golems go here, and my overgrowth can be right here. And these two buildings being overgrowth is very important because it forces my overgrowth or my troops to go this way and not be split. Um, yeah, so let's watch your attack. And this is when you see the storages not being affected by earthquake be very important here because if looks like you're doing something very similar, um, your meteor golems are going to be splitting here. And when they split, your healers become very ineffective. Not really a fan of that rage. This is normal mode, so you probably could have gotten away with the totem. This is very questionable. Mainly because I don't really see good RC pathing. Or you're probably gonna have to feed your golem like right here. But like leaving the revenge tower for the back end is very scary, and I don't really see how a good way to take care of it. Like you may say RC, but then you're gonna have to place your RC from this side so that when you pop the RC ability, your spears, um, she's the closest. She's closest to the revenge tower, so sorry. You'll have to place your RC all the way on the left side so that when you pop the ability, she'll actually target the revenge tower. Because if you place the RC like on this side and pop it around here, she's gonna like target these defenses first. But just going into like this much damage, where I'm unsure where the troops will be pathing, like around here, it's very sketchy. Because I don't know if they're gonna go here or if they're gonna go here. They should actually split. Yeah, I'd much rather go behind the fire spitters, even though that is most likely baited. And again, we see you make the mistake here. Watch your meteor golem and king placement at the top. These meteor golems are fine. I don't have any super barbs. Interesting. Funneling. Right here. Where do you think your king's gonna go? Try and predict it just by looking at the screen. My prediction is that your king's gonna go here, and here, then into the base. And then your RC has to funnel the outside. Or maybe even because your RC probably can't funnel the outside, she has to go into the middle of the base. And then right around here is when all this damage is gonna jump at you at once. Which the only way you're gonna get through that is by using overgrowths and rage. Oh, you don't and a rage spell, but you didn't. But you already used the rage spell, so you don't have that. You need to be using your poison onto the furnace, not the rocket balloons. this is really bad because I predict what's gonna happen. You did the sandwich overgrowth again because your troops gonna go into the middle of the base and right around here when they're in the middle of two fire spitters, ricochet cannon, another ricochet cannon, a ton of damage, guardian. This is when the overgrowth's gonna run out and your troops are gonna split, and the revenge shot is gonna cook you alive. And also another thing about doing overgrowths like these is when they pop, generally speaking, your troops are right on top of them. Now, normally, if the entire base is dead, that's not an issue, but when there's like a bunch of defenses still alive, um, it's just too much damage at once. And generally speaking, like overgrowthing multi infernos, they almost always target your healers or your warden. So you see how like your overgrowths like they run off at exactly the worst timing when you're running into all the damage in the base. And now like it's already gone. So the issue was like the entry and also like the sandwich overgrowths. And also recognizing like well well actually yeah, it was the entry because when you entered from this side, you needed to realize that hey, this is a lot of damage around this part of the base. So you needed like a raise spell. This is what 400, 400, 1000 DPS, 400, 400, poison tower, guardian. I don't know, guardian's like 400 DPS or something. That's a lot of freaking DPS hitting you at once. Okay, next replay.